Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a totally fascinating culinary journey today, straight into the heart of rustic, authentic Thai home cooking. We're breaking down a true masterclass based on Mr. Tan's family recipe. We're looking at a deeply traditional, intensely flavorful dish, river snail curry with wild betel leaves. If you've ever wanted to understand the absolute precise architecture of a local Thai curry, how the ingredients are prepped, the exact sequence of seasoning, and those secret little techniques that elevate a simple home-cooked meal into something genuinely extraordinary, well, you are in the exact right place.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, the rustic snail curry. Second, essential ingredients and seasonings. Third, the golden seasoning rule. Fourth, our step-by-step cooking process. And finally, top tips for beginners.
Section 1. The Rustic Snail Curry, a taste of the local market.
So, picture this. The inspiration for this dish actually begins after a long day of work, just taking a simple stroll through a local Thai market. It's here that Mr. Tan spotted fresh river snails, or Hoi Khom. Now, instead of buying pre-shelled meat, which, let's be honest, is super common in modern convenience cooking, he opted for the whole, unpeeled snails. Why? To recreate a vibrant, rustic experience right in the kitchen. And this local market inspiration brings us to a really wonderful concept, Jub. Jub refers to the joyful, slightly messy, and incredibly tactile act of sucking the flavorful snail meat, along with all that rich, spicy coconut broth, directly from its shell. Leaving the shells on, it's not a shortcut. It is a highly deliberate culinary choice. It completely transforms the meal from a standard dinner into an interactive, super entertaining eating experience. You get the perfect hit of sauce and meat in every single bite. It's brilliant.
Section 2. Essential ingredients and seasonings, building your flavor toolkit.
All right, let's build that toolkit. We've separated our essentials into core components and enhancers. For the core, obviously, we've got our unpeeled river snails. Then you're going to want a generous, heavy-handed amount of red curry paste for intense thickness and heat, paired right up with rich coconut milk. We also need our fast-cooking greens, wild betel leaves known as chaplu and occasion leaves known as sha'am, plus a few slices of finger root or crotchai to really cut through the richness. Down on the enhancer side, we're looking at coconut sugar, ideally cut straight from a large block for that earthy sweetness, iodized salt, a touch of seasoning powder for deep umami, and absolutely crucially, toasted ground rice or Khao Khua. That rice adds this beautiful nutty aroma and naturally thickens up the whole broth.
Section 3. The Golden Seasoning Rule, Mr. Tan's mother's technique.
Now, this core philosophy is inherited directly from Mr. Tan's mother, Kun Nai Tong Yoi, and let me tell you, it completely dictates the sequence of how we cook. So the crucial point is this right here. You must balance and perfect the curry broth's flavor before adding the meat. In a lot of modern kitchens, we kind of just throw everything into the pot and tweak the seasoning at the very end, right? Well, in authentic Thai cooking, especially with delicate proteins like snails, that is a recipe for absolute disaster. Think about it. If you wait until the snails are in the pot to start tasting, adding your sugar, adding your salt, and letting it boil away while you figure out the flavor, you're going to overcook those snails. They'll shrivel up, become super tough, and lose all their natural sweetness. You have to get that broth to 100% perfection first.
Section 4. Step-by-step cooking process, executing the masterclass.
Let's move to and see how this builds across 5 precise steps. Step 1. Fry the curry paste with oil until fragrant. Step 2. Add coconut milk and mortar water. Step 3. Season the broth perfectly. Step 4. Add the prepared snails. And Step 5. Finish with roasted rice and herbs. Let's break these down.
So, for steps 1 and 2, we are creating our aromatic base. You want to fry a generous amount of that red curry paste and just a little bit of oil until it is incredibly fragrant. Seriously, don't drown it in oil. Once the kitchen smells absolutely amazing, pour in your coconut milk. But here is a brilliant, totally rustic trick. Pour a little water into the mortar where your paste was, swirl it around to catch every last bit of flavor, and add that mortar water to the pot. It prevents the coconut curry from becoming overly thick and heavy right out of the gate.
Which brings us to step 3, the most important number in our sequence, where we execute that golden rule. While the coconut broth is bubbling away, we add exactly 3 slices of finger root for a nice peppery herbal kick. Then, methodically, we add our coconut sugar, our iodized salt, and our seasoning powder. You stir, you let the sugar melt, and you taste. Too sweet? Add salt. Not rich enough? Adjust. You literally stay on step 3 until that broth tastes like absolute perfection. Once that broth is perfect, we immediately hit steps 4 and 5. Drop in your carefully cleaned, prepared snails. Because the broth is already perfectly seasoned, the snails only need to be in the boiling liquid just long enough to cook through. Then, sprinkle in the roasted rice, the Khao Khua, which instantly releases this toasted, earthy aroma and gives the curry a gorgeous clinging texture. Finally, turn off the heat, or just drop it to low, and fold in those wild betel leaves and acacia leaves. These greens are super delicate. They just need to wilt slightly in the residual heat to release their magic without losing their vibrant color.
Section 5. Top tips for beginners. How to avoid common mistakes.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how these simple do's directly prevent the biggest disaster don'ts. For example, you absolutely must wash the snails in multiple changes of water to remove the river algae. If you skip this, your curry's going to taste muddy. But don't counteract all that hard work by boiling them too long, or, like we talked about, they'll shrink into tiny rubbery erasers. Next, prep the snails by cutting off their tails. If you don't cut the tails, that joyful jube suction effect simply won't work, because there's no airflow through the shell. Also, manage your heat early on. Let the curry paste fry until fragrant, but whatever you do, don't let it burn, or the whole pot will taste bitter. And finally, my absolute favorite pro tip. Off the heat, add one last fresh splash of coconut milk for a vibrant, rich finish. But remember Kunnai Tangyoi's rule, do not add that snail meat before the broth tastes perfect.
All of this brilliantly illustrates how just a few simple, intentional techniques can transform a handful of everyday market ingredients into an absolute masterpiece. Taking the time to build flavors sequentially, truly respecting the ingredients, and creating an interactive eating experience, it changes the whole game. So I'll leave you with this thought. After seeing the real care and logic that goes into a traditional recipe like this river snail curry, what local, rustic dish are you inspired to try cooking next? Get out there, explore your local markets, and bring those authentic flavors right into your own kitchen. Thanks so much for joining me in today's Explainer. Keep learning and happy cooking.